This is the hardest material to forge in the Forged in Fire competition, high-carbon steel wire shavings. This material is incredibly loose. Fusing it together can truly be described as a hellish level of difficulty. Even if handled properly, it can still give the judges a little thrill. In this competition, the production team directly brought in a bucket of high-carbon steel wire shavings, requiring the contestants to use this as the material to forge a distinctive short blade within 3 hours. Faced with such tiny steel wires, the best handling technique is the canister Damascus method. So after getting the steel material, contestant Bud first coated the inner wall of the canister with a separating agent. Then he filled the canister with the steel wire material. The idea was sound, but he didn't wait for the separating agent to dry completely before directly putting the steel wires in. This could potentially lead to difficulties in removing the canister later. Contestant Alan also chose to apply a separating agent, but he patiently waited for it to dry completely before starting to fill the canister. However, the process didn't go smoothly. The judges analyzed that it was due to the steel wires. Even when dry, the steel wires would carry away most of the separating agent compared to the first two contestants. Trist's approach was even more unconventional. He first filled the canister with steel wires and then poured in the separating agent. The judges had never seen such an operation before. Among the 4 contestants, only Olaf directly filled the canister with the material. By doing so, although it would result in insufficient purity of the steel, it greatly saved time in removing the canister. There were still 2 hours left. Alan took the lead in heating the canister and carried out the canister billet fusion. Then he placed it on a vise and started to remove the canister. Although the speed was fast, the fusion of the steel billet was a complete failure. There was no other option at the moment, so he had to choose to start over due to the time constraint. So he decided to skip applying the separating agent and directly fill the canister for fusion. Bud, who also applied the separating agent, didn't make smooth progress either. Under the action of the stamping machine, the front end of the steel billet was directly ruined. He tried to fix it with a hand hammer, but it had no effect. So he directly chose to cut off the waste edge and started to remove the canister. It was obvious that the fusion of the steel billet was extremely poor, but he didn't intend to start over. Instead, he directly heated it and forcibly forged the blade. As for Olaf, the only one who didn't remove the canister, after confirming the canister billet fusion, he directly took the opportunity to stretch and lengthen the steel billet. The fusion effect was perfect, and the judges couldn't help but praise it. Next, he only needed to use a power hammer for shaping, and then he could proceed to the crucial quenching step. After forging and pressing for fusion, Tris also came to the canister removal stage. However, due to the steel billet being too tight, he couldn't remove it at all. In desperation, he could only choose to start over, but this time he still chose to use the separating agent. When the judges saw this operation, they all held their breath for him. On the other side, Alan, who started over, had a perfect fusion of the steel billet. Next, he only needed to stretch and lengthen it to forge it into a blade. There was only 1 hour left. After stretching the steel billet, contestant Bud found tiny cracks on the side. He decided to directly use a welding torch for reinforcement. Olaf, the fastest one, completed the quenching first after heating the blade blank. After Alan finished grinding, he also quenched the blade blank. There were only 5 minutes left. Bud also completed the quenching, but the result seemed less than ideal. Tris completed the quenching before the end of the competition. The competition time was up. All 4 contestants brought their handsome blades to the judges. First was Alan's camping knife. The blade was handled very cleanly, which the judges liked very much. Next was Olaf's drop-point hunting knife. The blade was slightly rough, but its hardness was excellent. Tris's Persian scimitar had many quenching scars on the blade that hadn't been ground yet, but the blade shape was very unique. Finally, there was Bud's Bowie knife. The blade was full of cracks, and the hardness couldn't meet the standard, so the result was obvious. In the end, contestant Bud was unfortunately eliminated. The remaining 3 contestants advanced to the second round.